Welcome back to the Real Room. I miss you guys so much. I just want to thank you guys for your prayers and your love and all of the beautiful text messages that I received while I was down. Guys, it's been something. But we thank God that He is a healer and He is still healing and strengthening my body. So I love you all and I miss you guys so much. So I'm excited because tonight we have such an amazing special guest. It's so much that I could say about this young lady. I can just go on, but I want to give you a little bit of what I say is her bio, is her history, and some marks that she has made in the earth realm. So her name is Ashley Tinsley, and she's from Gainesville, Florida. I met Ashley at the LEAP conference in September last year, and we just automatically connected. Ashley is really an amazing mom. She's a mom of two young boys. She's really, when I say Ashley's making her mark in the earth, it's amazing the things that she's done. And I'm just so proud of her. She's a victorious woman. Um, Ashley has worked hard to obtain her goals and her dreams. Ashley has managed, while raising her boys, guys, to obtain her master's degree in social work and defeat the odds of some of the things that have been given to her in life. She has taken her pain and empowered herself. And now I love the way she's empowering others. Ashley loves God. And I love the fact how much she loves God. Ashley is an advocate for children that have been suffering from emotional trauma and that have gone through some of the things that she has gone through as a young girl. So tonight, Real Room, I want us to get ourselves together, get excited, because we're going to bring in this amazing young lady. Again, Real Room guest, welcome Ashley
Hey,
to our
girl.
platform. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
It's so good to have you on tonight as our special guest. I'm just so excited about all of the things that God is doing and has done in your life. You are the true epitome of grace, and
Yeah.
I love that you are standing firm in your beliefs, and I love your wittiness and your strength and your drive. So tonight, guys, we want to talk to Ashley. We're going to have an open dialogue, her and I, about some things that her and I have been just, talking about. And one of those things that Ashley and I have been sharing is the matters of the heart. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
Whew. All right. So the matters of the heart, just everything that concerns you, your fears, your doubts, your worries, your insecurities, uncertainties, right? Questions that you may have just about life and God and where is He at when you're going through, and who He is.
hmm So Ashley, I don't want to get away from this topic too much, but something just came to mind. A good girlfriend of mine called me today and was sharing with me some things that she was going through with her granddaughter, and
Mhm.
I just thought that it was so amazing how God, because I woke up honestly this morning with this young lady on my mind, her daughter that I had never met. And
Mhm.
actually, I met this young lady when I came to this new land. But for whatever reason, this morning, I had her daughter on my mind really heavy. And before I was able to reach out to her, she reached out to me
Mhm.
and shared some things with me. And in that, I thought about you. Ashley, can you talk to our audience of young ladies that have experienced trauma or just feel like nobody can tell them anything? Like, I got this all together. How do we speak to that? How do we as parents try to navigate through those situations?
I think one thing is first understanding that you're not going to have everything that your child needs, and
Well,
that's
that's good,
okay.
Ashley. That's good.
Yeah, because as parents, we try to be the end all be all. And sometimes we try to parent from a place of our need, like what we needed, we feel like our children need it. But it's the total opposite. And being willing to get them what they need, whether that's therapy, doctors, whatever the case may be. So we have to also be open and willing and understanding that in some instances, it doesn't, especially in the Black culture, because it's like what goes on in this house stays in this house. but nothing can ever heal, right, until you open up your mouth and say what is. So it's okay to be willing to ask for help and say, hey, I need help in this area, or hey, like, I don't know, I don't have it all figured out.
So, but what do you do when the child is rebellious, and you just feel like you're losing control? How do you handle that?
Honestly, now I'm gonna tell you, my children this is the most I've ever prayed in my life. So as I think as believers, we also have to, everything that we carry is not for us to carry. We have to cast it. We have to cast all our cares on him and
That's good.
trust that he's going to take care of it. You know what I mean? So I
Okay.
think in that aspect, definitely pray, but then it's like, okay, let's get to the root.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they acting out? Has things been going on that you don't know? Therapy, maybe get somebody else to talk to them, because I know sometimes my children, they don't always listen to me, but they'll listen to somebody else.
Right. Well, what about I'm trying to be gracious when I say this, Ashley. So how about this? Let's unpack this, Ashley. Share with me one process of your healing and what allowed you to defeat the odds of what you were served.
I mean, I'm still in process. I think as we continue to live, we're just gonna always be in process. But I think for me, and it's still something I'm working on, is just accepting what God has allowed.
Mm. So what about the
Um,
person that's not saved? What do we say to the mom that doesn't know Christ yet and she's navigating through these things? Like, can we speak to that?
Absolutely. If a person is willing to, I think it falls on the person. So if it's the person, if they're willing to listen, if they're willing to hear, sometimes we can be stubborn. We can want to be just stuck in our ways and don't really want to hear what nobody have to say. So then it'll just take for that person, the old folks saying, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then
Right?
you'll do something differently. And honestly, that's what got me, because we can say, oh yeah, I'm tired, but like we still want, well, for me, I still want to do my little 1-2 or whatever. So then it was like, okay, like something has to give. I can't keep going around the same mountain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so then I found myself in a tug of war where is will in my way. Because
Wow.
I was the type of person, I'm gonna have my way.
Right.
Not so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did you, can I ask you, if you don't mind, as a single mom, how did you fight through your own personal challenges to even, you know, have the will to go to school, achieve your goals, to even obtain your master's degree, and to be a social worker? How did all of that come to play?
So I always knew school was my way out. Like I did very well in school, and I think given the circumstances that I grew up in was very important, because I didn't have nobody to sit down and do homework with me to make sure I did my work. Like that was on me. AB honor roll, straight A student, all throughout grade school, high school. So school came easy for me. I would literally get my syllabus and I would calculate what I could miss, what I could not do, to still pass the class.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
you had game. You knew how to run game.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Okay.
It, of course, being a mom and then being in college, it. I definitely had my challenges, but I knew that I wanted more, not just for me, but for my children,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that honestly, anything is possible if you work toward it.
Right.
So,
So, Ashley, just give us a little bit of your testimony. Give us where you are, where you came from. Talk to us about that a little bit.
all right. So, because I wanted to piggyback on when you said that I love God. That hasn't always been the case, and it's not to like brag or boast, but there was a season and moments where I didn't like God very much. I was very angry with him because I didn't understand why I had to go through some of the things that I went through.
Okay.
Growing up, my grandma raised me, and then she died, and then I went into the foster care system and aged out when I was 18. So she would always say, he may not be there when you want him, but he's always on time. Well, being young, not really knowing or having an understanding of that concept, well, if he ain't come when I want him, he not on time. I'm like, God, you on color people time? Cause like, where you at? And then always just hearing that he's always there, but I couldn't see him in my situation. But as I got older, I learned that even though he didn't bring me out of those things, he carried me through. And so what ends up happening is trauma will trap you and train you into thinking that you are the only one who has to fight for you.
Wait a minute. Trauma will trap you and train you. That's powerful. Okay,
And
go ahead.
into thinking that you are the only one that has to fight for you. Because I've been a fighter since day one. My mom had me when she was 7 months pregnant. I was 2 pounds and 3 ounces. So I had to fight while in the womb. And so, just having gone through many different things, I just wonder. I wonder where he was at. I felt like God wasn't there for me. I didn't think God liked me, let alone love me. They preach the scripture of for God to love the world. It's like, well, I'm trying to figure out how I got a first class trip to VIP section of hell. That's how I felt. Right. My life was growing up. And so I thought that maybe I used all my free passes, or that God wouldn't get to me in time. So just having multiple disappointments after disappointments, it's like, okay, I learned not to really expect much. But then it transitioned because, hey, when you train up a child in the way they should go, so no matter how much I straight away be like, bump this, I'm done for you. Because if somebody told me I'll be doing this now, I would have told you lying. Right. I'm still trying to figure out who put me on the ballot, who signed me up, because I didn't sign up for this. But at the end of the day, his will is going to always prevail. So,
and so now in this place in your life, you're at a place of surrender, right? Like not Ashley's will, but God's will be done.
Yes.
And it wasn't always like that, but you're here. No. You're walking through the process, and it's a daily process, right?
Daily.
It's a daily process.
Oh, yes.
So, Ashley, how do we get back to the basics? And when I say that, how do we get back to the basics as parents? How do we incorporate the mental health piece into training up our children? How do we know when our children needs that extra, that therapy? What are some of the signs that we should be looking for as parents?
So, especially when it comes to children, so things show up differently. So a lot of times the anger is masked as depression, right? So you may think your child is just displaying, angry outbursts, but really the underlying underneath is depression. So I think honestly having open, honest conversations about, with your children. Of course, your child is not going to tell you everything, but then that's where, hey, get them a trusted individual to talk to. And a lot of times we go to therapy like for the big things, but children, they go through a lot.
Yes.
Just as far as like just peer pressure, wanting to be accepted, because like my oldest son, he wants to be accepted like by his peers. And at first I was looking like, I know you lying, because I didn't care about being like, that just wasn't my thing. But again, his need is not my need. So just even talking to him through that, or getting him somebody that he can feel so that he can be able to express his feelings. So we just have to be willing to be open, I think. And we talk about it more now. So understanding, like, even as believers, like, it's okay to have theology and therapy. It's okay to have the cross and the couch. It's okay. And even I'm an advocate for prescription medication if need be. Like, there's no shame.
Yes.
In getting help, only healing. So I think we have to kind of, sometimes we get caught up into what other people think. But if that is the case, you don't necessarily have to tell nobody that you're going to therapy. You don't have to tell nobody that your child in therapy. There ain't nobody business unless you feel comfortable with sharing it. So stripping away everything that a person thinks they know, so that they can get to what they need.
Okay, that's good. Stripping away what we think we know to get to what we need. Stripping away. So how do we know that? Like, because some people think they know it all. You know what I mean? Yeah. So how do you start that stripping process? You know what I mean? To know that you have a need.
Well, you know what they say, a hard head make a soft tail. So until a person wants to honestly come face to face with themselves, then you can only do so much until the person is willing. Like they say, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. Okay. So I think we know ourselves better than anybody. So it's honestly you coming face to face with yourself about where you've been, where you at, and where you're trying to go.
Mm-hmm. So I've been very intrigued about your story. I so enjoy our conversations and our time together. And there was a couple things that really stood out to me. One thing, and I wrote this down. Um, you said, "Hell is in my head and my bed." I felt like that was a powerful statement. Can you help unpack that? Hell is in my head and my bed. Help me understand that.
So just again going through a lot of trauma. So I had never left Florida, but now, well, at that particular time, now I wasn't even sure what state of mind I was in.
Mm,
And so constantly, battling that, worrying about, what somebody gonna do to me, what I'm gonna eat for the next day, or where I'm gonna lay my head at, because I constantly moved around. Was just some of the things that I continuously faced
mm-hmm.
on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. But look at what God has done with your life. You took your pain and empowered yourself, and now you're strengthening others. Sometimes people feel like that, like you said earlier, life has dealt them a bad hand, and
Mm-hmm.
why me? Why this have to happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do so wrong or whatever? I was telling this young man this yesterday. I said, let me tell you something about challenges, pain, life, the valley, the
Mm-hmm.
healing process, the matters of the heart, being numb. Is We can do one or two things. I can take my pain and use it as the catalyst to push me to destiny,
Mm-hmm.
or I can allow it to make me sit in a place where I don't let anyone else in,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to keep all of that pain to myself. There's no release.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do one of the two things. And that's one thing that has blessed me about your life, that even though you feel like you're still, going through your process,
Mm-hmm.
still the glow that's on your life, the way you treat others that are in your space. Because most of the time when people feel like they've been dealt a bad hand,
Mm-hmm.
they reciprocate what they have been given,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's not where you are. Would you attribute that to your walk with Christ, or
The
your
only
walk?
way.
Okay, go
The,
ahead.
the only way, because if it wasn't for grace, I would be like everybody who has ever wronged me. And don't get me wrong, I definitely had my moments. I've always been the person to tell it like it is. So my tongue has always been sharp. The
Hmm.
Lord is definitely bridled it now. Depending on what day you catch me on. But
Hmm.
just being rough around all of my edges. And I think understanding too is that sometimes it's easy to get stuck in our process and we forget that there is a promise. But having to remember that the process always processes.
I
And
love,
although
I love
although I
it. Say
don't
it
agree
again.
with
The process, the promise.
all that process always processes. And so we get hung up in our process that we forget that there is a promise. And so just knowing that although I may not like or agree with what God has allowed, and just knowing that everything, it all works together for my good. At certain times I didn't see how,
Hmm.
right? But it does. And so we have
Hmm.
to remember that when we're praying or we're trying to get to our promised place or our destined place, that the process is the delivery service. And we don't get to determine or dictate what that process is. Now, sometimes we throw our own stuff in there, but God has a blueprint for us all. And sometimes it's just some things that we have to live out. Why? I have no earthly clue, because some stuff I would just, like I tell God, I would never fully understand or comprehend your ways, but I have to trust. Um, Trust your plan, and even sometimes in trusting God, that can and has been a bit challenging. But hey,
But you're here, right?
I'm here.
You're here.
Mhm.
So actually, I'm going to ask you something really hard. How did you come out of the place in your healing process of not staying numb to the things that you went through? And how did God begin to deal with your heart, even in this place? And when I say that, I mean, when old stuff, because the enemy doesn't come with anything new,
No, right.
he brings old stuff up. So when
Mm-hmm.
he tries to bring old memories, old, things, how do you combat it? Do you combat it with the word? Like, do you shut down? Like, tell us how you are able to navigate those seasons and those processes.
Well, certain seasons, some seasons I shut down. It was just easier to not deal, because that's how I always dealt with stuff. I dealt with it by not dealing with it, sweeping on the rugs. Like, I ain't got time. I got to keep moving because stuff was always going on, right? But then it came a point in time, especially with the birth of my first son. It's like, okay, girl, you got to deal with some stuff, because if not, like, it's definitely going to, affect your parenting. And so, like, that was the start. But then they went to tap dancing on stuff I really wasn't ready to talk about it. It's like, nah, I'm out.
Talk about therapy and
yeah.
therapy. Okay. So did you put yourself in therapy?
Well, the judge ordered me to go when I was about 15 or 16, because I was just mad at everybody. I woke up mad, went to bed mad. You can just call me the fiery furnace, okay? I was hot. He was like, you got to complete anger management and you got to go to therapy. But even then, I wasn't receptive. So I would literally sit on the couch for like an hour and not talk. And so when you're in foster care, like, they have like this blue folder, like, with all your little information in it, right? And so she would ask me a question. I was like, everything you need to know is in the folder. I would answer a question with a question. I would go to sleep. I would take a nap. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. And she was like, if you go, I'm going to have to tell the judge. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, ma'am, because I'm not going to talk to you. So that was that. But then I had to be willing, and knowing that I'm not going to be ready for a lot of stuff, but I have to be willing, and understanding that what helped me survive then, it doesn't help me now. So me being numb, it was literally for me to get through, but understanding, like, okay, like, I'm in a different place, in a different space now. And it's okay to, it's okay to let people in. Like, you're safe now, and those are in your circle. Like, it's safe and it's okay. So it's been more so like an internal battle, like, with myself, and trusting myself, and even trusting God, because it's hard to put your trust in someone that you feel like has wronged you, right? Or abandoned you. It's one thing to feel abandoned by parents or those around you, but it's a whole other thing to feel abandoned by God.
That's so good, Ashley. I can't even imagine the amount of people that feel that way because of the trauma and triggers that they have experienced, like feeling like, God, why?
Yeah.
God, if you're so good, why would you allow something bad to happen to me? I was a child, innocent. Like, why, God? Why didn't you cover me? Why didn't you protect me? Why didn't you shield me? Like, so you have all of those whys. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, as you grow and mature in Christ, you get the answers that you need to your whys.
Sometimes, not always. And so I think that's even an accepting piece, because as humans, we only have limited ability, right? He's only going to give us so much. And I'm one of the ones, like, I'm literal, like, I need to know. And God, like, because I want to know, like, every detail. So I even have to kind of release that. And again, like I said, some moments he didn't bring me out of, but he carried me through. So it wasn't me that got me out of those situations. Because a lot of times when you hear about people, going through a lot of trauma and stuff, they become addicts. They're, mentally, unstable. But by grace, for the most part, I'm in my right mind. I'm not on drugs, So, and I went on to,
go to school and get a degree, and that's just to be applauded. That's really to be applauded. So I want to ask you something else about trauma. I know we're here, but I feel like that this helps us to release our heart, because a lot of people have heart problems because they have trauma. They have things that they're carrying it, and it becomes a weight. And the Bible tells us to lay aside every weight. But how do you lay aside a weight that you don't even really know that you're carrying? You cannot articulate the burden that you're feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I can't put it into words, but I know I'm feeling something, because people bury pain. And when it's buried, it's in a place that you have just pushed it to the side until crazy time comes, and now this thing resurfaces itself. My son, and I tell this testimony all the time, and I tell it because I want parents, I want people all across this world to pay attention to things. Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to details, because we could be so goal driven that, we feel like, excuse me, having a nanny, having someone take care of your kids while you're out there doing your thing to better have a better life for them, that we're not paying attention to the small details.
Right.
And I share this testimony because my son was taken advantage of. And it wasn't until like the sixth grade, around the sixth grade, because he was like this perfect kid. Everybody, all the teachers loved him. It was around the sixth grade that we was like, what's going on with this dude? Like, you know, we're in school every week. We're at conferences. We couldn't figure it out. And I was at work one day and a client said to me, Marie, I know what happened to your child. I know what happened to him. And I'm like, okay. And then she was like, you know, someone took advantage of him. Someone took his innocence. And I'm like, what do you mean? Right. And so then God just had it so that that same day, someone else came and said the exact same thing. So now I'm a strong mouthpiece for children. Look, don't let your child stay everywhere. No, no. I don't care if it's the uncle. Like, you gotta really know, because people have hidden psychological agendas.
They
So
sick.
yes, because and they know how to cover it well. Look at these serial killers out here. You wouldn't even know. You standing right in the store with them, and they look normal, and they about to kill everybody in the store. So, clinically, can you help me as a mom to know how to navigate that? You know, at this place, like, give me a couple tools that I could even use to help my son to navigate his emotional feeling from the trauma.
That's really, really tough because especially like being a parent and your child going through that, sometimes, you know, you go through like, is it my fault? Did I not do enough? Or I should have been there. You know, you go through, you know, that guilt, like what could I have done differently? So I think just giving him that grace and the space to navigate whatever it is that he is feeling, and trying to be careful not to put your weight on it, because as you know, being a mama bear, right, you want to fix it, you want it to be different, but it's what it is. And so just continuing, you know, your position or whatever, but just continuing to really cover him in prayer. If he's not in therapy, definitely get in therapy, and you know, him knowing that it's not his fault. So it's going to take some time to make resolve with that, which is tough to accept, like, hey, this is what I've been through.
Yeah.
um and so I don't it's kind of like a roller coaster in a sense that you kind of got to ride, you know, because you know, having those moments of maybe like outbursts, or you know, shut down, want to talk 1 minute, don't want to talk, you know, or having, you know, rage or just confusion, right? You just not understanding why, you can't wrap your mind all around it. So I think being patient and understanding to where he's at and what he's going through.
Okay. That's good stuff. Thank you for that. That's encouraging. Um, and in our final thoughts here, Ashley, can you just tell me and the rest of our Real Room friends, tell us where you are now? Tell us, you know, just some of the amazing things that God is doing, even in your life now. And in our closeout, give some moms some tools that you have used that have helped you.
So where I'm at now is just, whew, I guess like walking into what God has called me to, which can be a little, it's like I don't really want to, you know, I don't really want to do this. But even walking out my process, right, and dealing continually to deal with matters of my heart, because understanding that when you've buried things for so long, it resurfaces. And so if God reveals it, he wants to heal it. And once you conquer something, you develop authority over it.
That's so good. That's so good. Somebody put that in our chat. Once we conquer, we get authority over that thing. That's really, really good. I'm sorry. I just had
No, you're okay. And so understanding that God won't deliver you from something he has not assigned you to. So if it comes out of you, if he breaks it off of you, if he delivers you from it, right, it's because we're supposed to rule in it. Sometimes we get stuck in what we in, forgetting like, okay, once I come out of this, I can rule and I can have authority over it and it not have authority over me. So I had to understand, like, whatever my backstory is, right? My background is a key and a clue to my assignment, and to no longer ignore it. I tried to ignore a lot of stuff because I wanted to be everything I wasn't. I didn't want to be broken. I didn't want to be the girl who mom was on drugs. I didn't want to be in foster care. I didn't, like, no, but it's what it was. And knowing that it still is all working uh, for a greater good.
Yeah.
And so now, tools that literally I use to help me with parenting, my support system. I have to, my support system. And honestly, not even to be deep, but literally prayer. I have to lean on God. A lot of times, we think God, like, oh, he can help me in this, but he can't help me with that. God not gonna leave me to raise them by myself. Like, he's with me in all things. So I have to trust that even in this, that he's helping me, and that with God, with me and God, we're a majority. So I'm always gonna win. I'm always gonna come out on top. And to understanding to not parent from my place of need, and to be open with my children, to have conversation, like I'm constantly checking in with them. How can I be better? How can I do better? And actually listen, because as adults, we don't always get it right. We're not always right. So being willing, and like I've always had a mouth, my children have a mouth. Like my people who know me, they're like, I don't know why you surprised. So, but learning to hear them and not feel like as if is they're challenging me, right? Because sometimes I think as parents, we'll ask them or we'll tell them to do this, but we don't give them that space and the grace, right, to kind of process. So then when they respond, it's like, oh, now you're being disrespectful. No, you didn't allow them processing time. So now they're giving you real raw emotions.
That's really good. That's so good.
So that's something that I'm continuously to learn, and that, hey, I'm not always right, and be quick to apologize and mean it and show effort to do better. And to not throw your weight around, not to abuse your authority. Oh, well, because I said so.
Right.
Children, they have questions, and it's okay. So just definitely listening and understanding that if you are a mom of multiples, that your children are different. So not to compare them, right? Personalities are different, because I can give my youngest son an instruction A through Z, and he'll execute. My oldest, so the same instruction I give my youngest, he'll do fine, but it can be the same instruction. It can harm my oldest. So understanding that different children, different personalities, different needs.
That's so good, guys. We're so happy that Ashley is with us tonight. And Ashley, I want you to be encouraged. You are an amazing young lady. I'm not just saying that. I tell you that on and off screen. I'm excited about what God is about to do in your life. I'm excited about the doors that he's ready to open for you. And I just want you to get ready for the ride. I want you to prepare and get ready for the ride. The world needs to hear your voice. The world needs to hear your testimony. And we didn't have enough time in 30 minutes to just break it all open. But I feel like that we were able to give enough tools tonight so that people can really unpack and deal with what's going on in their hearts. Because if we don't, even dealing with unforgiveness, harboring that stuff is like a cancer, and it eats away at us. So we have to no, we don't forget, but we do have to forgive. And so I'm just so glad that, God has allowed you to mature and to allow you to use the stumbling blocks and use them as stepping stones.
Yeah.
We're not defeated.
No,
we are not defeated. We have the victory. We are victorious.
Right. If you choose to be, right, it's easy to get stuck in our situation. It's easy, but then you have to make the decision. And that's just what it is. And then when you touched on forgiveness and understanding that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, right? Forgiveness means you just release them of the charge. Reconcile means to put something back in its place. So if you decide to do that, you have that option, but you don't have to. So forgiveness is literally something that you give to yourself, and it doesn't mean that you agree with what has been done. And I think sometimes, we get that a little mixed up sometimes.
And also, I said this too before, that forgiveness is not always It's not about us, but it's also liberating, and it frees that person. We're gonna move on because
Yeah.
God will give you the strength, but it also allows that person to know, I'm not holding you hostage for
Mm-hmm.
what you've done or all
Right.
of those things. You know, it's not just our own personal forgiveness, but literally it's releasing that person and saying, I have really given you to God. I have forgiven because my Heavenly Father forgives me.
Ooh. And he said, I was like, God, can I forgive 7 times? That is the number of completion. Nope, 70. Like,
Yep. Yep.
got a little problem with that algorithm, Lord, but
But again,
nevertheless,
his ways are not our ways.
they not.
His
His
thoughts are not our
thoughts.
thoughts.
Ooh,
That's right.
you gotta
That's
say
right.
it.
So,
Oh.
everybody, we're so glad that you guys came on with us. Our time is up already. Actually, Ashley and I went 8 minutes over, but it's okay because it was so good and it was necessary. And I haven't seen y'all in so long. So, we needed this time together. You all continue to pray for us. Pray for Ashley as God continues to enlarge the places of her tent. Remember her children in your prayers. Just continue to keep one another lifted and encouraged. And know this, y'all know this is my scripture, and I got to say it, that all things, everything, it's working together for our good. I couldn't figure out for the life of me, God, you allowed me to be down for a whole month almost. But while I was down, God was speaking, and it was all working together for our good. So I want you all to be encouraged. Continue to keep God first. Continue to show love and grace. And I'll see you next week right here at The Real Room. You all follow Ashley. Ashley, how can they find you? On social media, I mean, just how can we find you?
What is my Facebook name? It's Ash10.
Ash 10.
Yeah.
All right. You all follow Ash 10, follow her story, follow her life, follow her and her boys. And, Ashley loves to travel. She loves the water. So y'all can find her anywhere at any time. So may the Lord continue to bless you, keep you, and watch over you. Be encouraged. Tell somebody you love them today and mean it. Blessings.